I just think we tend to go too far with things, and no matter what the movement is, it will be co-opted by people that don't really have an interest in the deeper message. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think, and you and I have disagreed about this in the past, but I think psychedelics are a wonderful tool to spiritual awakening.
Shall we disagree about that in the present as well?
You couldn't even wait for me to finish this point? I'm just kidding. I'm just, like, this actually might be kind of on your side. For every person that is taking psychedelics and having some sort of self-realization, even if it's not a full self-realization, there might be 7 people that just really love listening to Tool. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine. I'm not even mad at that. But when I look at the 60s, I see it getting a little off the leash and getting co-opted by, you know what I'm saying? Like, you call it tantra, but you're just really horny. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Or like, you call it a spiritual retreat, but you just really love not having a job. Like, the lines get blurred.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. I'm saying there are earnest people, and there were a lot of them.
Yeah.
And we found a lot of them in the 60s. But those things
My
can
mom
get caught.
is still a hippie and lives in a cabin by a river, and my son, who's 20, was visiting her. And then they both said very cheerily the other day, like, she was like, I'm going to teach Walter gardening, and we're going to spend the day gardening. And I was like, the hippies were right.
Yeah.
We should all be gardening.
Yeah.
We really should not be scrolling. We should be gardening.
Well, that's true. That was very real time. That was the Greenpeace
That was
moment.
it? Yeah.
We shouldn't be scrolling. We should be gardening. Yeah, well, it is all there, isn't it? The idea of nothing ever really dies. Everything is just repurposed. The cycle is all in the garden for sure.
We've got to make our way back to the garden. Great hippie song. But truly, like, God is love, communion with nature, sharing resources.
Sure.
I mean, you go item by item by item, and the hippies were right. And according to you, psychedelics is a great path towards spiritual enlightenment.
I would agree with that, but I can see you setting me up. You know, Jesus had a great line about the garden. But there's 2 things Jesus said about gardening. Don't worry. Don't have church PTSD. There's some great stuff in there. He said, let the weeds grow with the wheat. That's something that is less quoted about Jesus. Because
what does that mean?
It's all in the game. It's like, you're not going to get rid of weeds. Christianity has sort of been turned into, like, if we can just not swear or smoke or have sex long enough, God will like us. Mm-hmm. And Jesus has a much more, let the weeds grow with the wheat. I mean, that sounds like something the Buddha would say, you know, but there it is in the New Testament. He also says the rain falls on the just and the unjust, which, growing up in America, I always thought that meant bad things happen to good people. But you have to remember, you know, we're in the Middle East. We're talking about rain being a very, very good thing.
And a precious thing.
Precious thing. So the rain falls on the just and the unjust. It waters both the thorny plants and the roses. It's just,
and that's God's mercy, God's grace. You could look at it that way as well.
Well, look, you got me on a Jesus tear here, but like, one of my...
Who better to be on a Jesus tear?
There's a lot of people.
Because you were a young evangelical.
I do have resting Latter-day Saint face, but... I like a lot of the things Jesus says, but one of my favorites, which actually will tie into my defense of psychedelics, is, and I'm going to paraphrase here because if I told it in the original King James, it would be so boring. But Jesus tells this story.
How about the original Aramaic?
I can do it.
Okay.
Don't tempt me. No. That riff. I'm walking away from that riff. He tells a story about a wealthy landowner. You know, if you hear the phrase wealthy landowner, you're reading the Bible. And the wealthy landowner hires 3 guys to work in his fields. And the first one shows up at 9 a.m. and works.
Is this a real Bible story? Because
Yeah.
it sounds like you're making it up.
I'm changing the specifics, but the content is the same.
Okay. Go
Which
ahead.
is very Semitic of me.
3.
No, that sounds like I'm being funny.
Yeah.
In Semitic storytelling, if you're talking to a rich person like you, I would say, I lost $1 million. But if I was talking to a regular person, I'd say I lost $100. And that's the literal truth. Now you got me on a.
You have to go a little higher.
Yeah. Rainn, I lost
Say
$100 million.
10 million. 10 million.
It was in the back of my Rivian and it blew up.
I derailed the story, though. Tell me about the landowner and the 3 people.
No,
what are
you're
they
an
doing?
agent of Satan and you don't want me to tell the story. I understand. It's a little too helpful, a little too bringing in the kingdom for your taste. I understand.
I'm the weed among the wheat.
Yeah, I like it. And you get Rainn just like me, which is a beautiful flower. Anyway, no, I'm kidding. So the 3 guys come. I am changing every detail, but the message will be the same.
Okay.
First guy shows up at 9 and he works until 5 p.m. Second guy shows up at noon and works until 5 p.m. Third guy shows up at 4:15 p.m., works until 5 p.m. Wealthy landowner comes out, pays each of them the same. Jesus is always telling stories like this that are deliberately frustrating. They're infuriating to the ego that would like to earn it. We want to be the person that worked from 9 to 5 and gets paid more, that is recognized more. But in my interpretation, the lesson of that parable is you can't divide infinity. To tie that into, meaning God already loves you maximum. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing you can do, which also brings me to psychedelics. And we have, I'm not here to pick a fight with you. I'm just saying, you think psychedelics are cheating. I think the idea of you cheating is looking at it very wrong. Meaning God or reality or truth is so madly in love with you. It can't even comprehend cheating or not cheating, doing it properly or doing it improperly, working from 9 to 5 or 4:15 to 5, or not coming at all because it's already your birthright. You can't become what you already are. So you can't do it right and you can't do it wrong. Psychedelics isn't cheating. Not doing psychedelics and meditating in a cave isn't doing it better, because at the end of the day, the wealthy landowner gives everybody the same amount.
Wow. You've convinced me.
Did I really?
Let's go.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I that just stood out to me. I didn't come here hoping to convince you, but I remembered when you did my podcast the second time that we disagreed on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken about it a bunch on the pod. I don't really need to get into it, but I just think that oftentimes psychedelics can be commodified for a consumer audience, and in between time in our hectic schedules, we can pay $1,257 to a shaman at a motel in Costa Rica and get enlightenment over a 3-day Memorial Day weekend and be back to our job on a Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. sharp and making more, focusing on making even more money. And I just think it kind of misses the point that psychedelics, when used in an indigenous tradition, are part of a multifaceted plan and program for spiritual enlightenment. They're a part of that. They're not the whole sum of the game.
I agree.
And it's kind of the Joe Roganification of psychedelic enlightenment is not cheating, I would say, but there's no shortcuts, I don't think.
But there are no long cuts either. Remember, you can't become what you already are. You already are awareness. And that can either be veiled or unveiled, but it can't be true or untrue. You're already that. What else could you be? You are the I am, you are the knowing. That's done. And if psychedelics reveal it, this lava lamp could reveal it, this conversation could reveal it. It's not really, I really see it as a benevolent booby trap that you're playing on yourself. And that's really something that you would feel, that I felt on psychedelics, where I'm like, oh, I did this to find myself. And they say this thing in India, God loves us so much that, and the West, we're so materialistic, God came to the West as a material. You understand? So there are other cultures where it might be more, it looks exactly like the thumbprint of God to me, that we love eating stuff and feeling groovy. And God's like, well, guess what, bitch? I'm hiding in there. You know what I mean? Like that feels exactly...
That's where our work is.
That feels exactly like how the mystery moves to me.
So do you think that maybe I'm mistaken in the sense of like there's a kind of ingrained Protestant work ethic that like one has to work towards some kind of spiritual enlightenment in the same way that one has to work a cornfield?
Yes.
The Soul Boom Podcast. Subscribe now on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you get your stupid podcasts.